Good morning and welcome to the show. This is In Touch, and I am Beth Christie, your hostess. In Touch is our weekly half-hour public affairs show, which means that at the end of the program today, if you are a member of a nonprofit group or organization, if you are a company here in the Hudson Valley helping out a nonprofit group or organization, we'd love to have you on the program, talk about what is important to you. And at the end of the show, I will give you a myriad of ways that you can get a hold of me so that we can have you on the program. So let me turn on microphones. Let me first tell you this is pre-recorded. Should we have any Facebook pages, any websites, any phone numbers, any Pinterest boards, any Twitter feeds, whatever it is that we may be talking about, we will have all that information for you. And also look at whatever station you're listening to this morning. Take a look on their website because we will post this interview as a video, believe it or not, from YouTube. And so you can listen to this program in its entirety in case there's anything that you may have missed. My guests didn't know that. They've just now found that out as I'm looking at them and realized that I neglected to tell you that before we started. So let me tell you who we have in here. We have Dr. John Quinn, who is co-owner of Moriarty Physical Therapy in Poughkeepsie. Dr. Quinn, thank you very much for taking the time. And good morning. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Good morning to you, too.
And we have Heather. Now, I know Heather. Everyone in the station knows Heather. We love Heather. And Heather has put up with us for, well, a while now. But you've never been willing to put yourself behind the microphone on In Touch, which I'm very happy. Heather Casto is here. She is the chef owner of the Chocolate Mousse Caterers in Hyde Park. So, Heather, thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So this is cool. So I have to say, Heather's the one who approached me, talked to me about the fact that we're getting in some end of spring, beginning of summer. People are becoming more active. What do people need for their bodies, whether it be physically, nutritionally? Children are involved in sports. There are injuries that are happening. Are some of these injuries avoidable? There's an awful lot of parents in our area that are listening, grandparents who are taking care of grandchildren, even, aunts and uncles and all that. So I think this is a great topic because I feel like if we can give some folks some tools to maybe make it through the spring and summer without going to an emergency room, without icing something, it might be a nice thing. So, Dr. Quinn, we're going to start with you. First off, I'd love to hear your background. You're co-owner of Moriarty Physical Therapy in Poughkeepsie. So just give us a little bit of background of you.
Sure, absolutely. Moriarty Physical Therapy, we've been around here in the Dutchess County area here for 40 years. The longest running physical therapy office that's privately owned.
Nice.
Yes. It was actually started in the basement of my mother-in-law's house. She was a physical therapist, started there, and it just completely blossomed. So we've been around for quite a while. Myself, I have my doctorate in PT. I grew up in Orange County and moved here, and I love it here. I absolutely do. I did extensive work in pediatrics. Mm-hmm. I have my bachelor's degree in athletic training, which is sports rehabilitation. Those are the individuals that keep all those football players, baseball players, that you see them run out during an injury and things like that. And then I went into school for PT. So I kind of have, I love working from children 5 days old to adults 95 years old.
I have to tell you, I always love hearing someone's story. Every time I do a show, I always learn something new. And so I love that because it's always, I think I have the coolest people on this show. I'm just going to tell you that. And I love hearing how people have come to where they are right now. You can see the light in your eyes, Dr. Quinn, as you're talking about it. So it's something that you're passionate about, that you love, that I wish our audience could see because they miss that part of it. So that's very cool. So let's talk about, before the microphones are on, I always ask folks, what do you want from this interview? At the end of the 30 minutes, what would you really want to make sure that folks know? And you talked about it in two parts. So let's talk the first part. People are outside. They're getting outside. It was a horrible winter. We've all been sitting. Is really all we've been doing, shoveling and hurting ourselves and sitting. I think that may be a slight over-exaggeration, but not in my house. So now that we're all active and children are playing sports, and as you mentioned, people are on the walkway, and so how can folks do that a little better and also get out there and not be afraid?
I think the number one thing is people, I always ask this question, people know their blood pressure. Everybody knows their blood pressure number. Because it's very important to keep your heart healthy, and they do the checkups for that. People don't know kind of what we call your musculoskeletal number. That's a big word. but that's what we look at as PTs. So how is your body functioning? People don't know that.
No, we don't, because I don't.
No, exactly. I would say probably if I asked everybody, nobody would know. And that's something that we look at is, okay, you come in here. I have just this morning, we have some phenomenal athletes that we work with, and even our team members. And you can have someone that's 20 years old, prime specimen, fantastic athlete, things of that nature. That doesn't mean they're invincible. And these are people that you'd assume are ready.
Right.
And what we strongly recommend at this time is that, we do screenings. We do what are called functional screenings. We take a look at them during the screening. We put the body just through some general movements. And at that time period, we can actually pick out areas where the body's been compensating, or maybe there's limitations. So most of the injuries that we have, like you said, we've been sitting. We've been kind of in this hibernation kind of long winter period.
That's a good word.
After a while, we start to compensate as the way we move. Even something as small as how we learned how to walk when we were children, maybe hurt ourselves running and sprained our ankle at 9. You start to change the way you move. And so these things start to progress. Most, like, we have the walkway, we have the rail trail, which is actually right behind us. I see every day hundreds of people running, walking through there. That doesn't mean that they're ready, They're just, it's nice out, it's beautiful. I've got new sneakers, I've got all this new stuff, and I'm going to go. And they're not feeding themselves appropriately. They're not getting themselves prepared that they're going 0 to 60 in just that one moment, because they can put their sneakers on and go. And they need a little bit of education from that. There's a way of avoiding future injury, and injuries compound themselves.
Yeah.
They do. There's studies that show that a young child, or any adult, or a person that's competing in a sport, but they looked at high school, college athletes. High school per kid gets injured. First injury could be an ankle sprain. They are 300 times more likely to get hurt again because they had an injury.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. Bentley's being wrapped in bubble wrap for the rest of us.
Well, it doesn't mean that now you do wrap them in bubble
Right.
wrap. But what it means is something that we kind of take I use the ankle sprain example. You look at an ankle sprain and you're like, wow, just walk it off. Coaches sometimes will think, okay, we can wrap it. We can do some things. You can't just look at the ankle now. Why did the ankle sprain? Was it just from running, or is it something else going on? If it wasn't from another kid tackling them or falling into them, what's going on here? So these are the things that we really focus on, is kind of, okay, look at the whole body. The body's talking to us all the time. It's telling us little aches and pains. Don't ignore them. So the people going outside now, a lot of them maybe look some things up online. A friend told me to do this. I'm going to go running for the first time, and my friend runs all the time. Yes, they may have some knowledge, but there's a lot more out there that they should definitely look into. There's resources, and we're one of them. And I'm glad Heather's here, because the nutrition aspect is huge. That's fuel, and that fuel has to be there. And some people will go out, I'm going to go for a 4-mile run. They don't hydrate themselves. They don't eat before they go. Because let's face it, we all ate a lot during the wintertime. I know I did. I was very comforting to be inside and do that. And so a lot of us are like, okay, I'm going to restrict how much I eat, and I'm going to go out there and I'm going to exercise. And you can't do that to the body. The body is the most efficient machine when it's treated right.
So what would you say, you talk about, getting out of the hibernation stage, but also, with kids. I mean, I've sat at a lot of softball games, and I see kids get out of a car, immediately go, pick up a bat, and they're there. And you think to yourself, should there be stretching? Should there be some type of a gentling easing into, like, going from 0 to 60 and hitting the ball and running to first that might help, that could help the body?
Absolutely. A lot of the programs that we've developed at Moriarty PT, and those are the individuals that we look to speak with, are the coaches of a lot of these teams, even the managers, even the directors of them. Because yes, these kids come out, they've been sitting in a car. Softball, baseball is a great example. They go out, depending on how long the inning is. How many times have you watched a baseball game where the kids are standing out there, or even the professionals are standing out there, and there's nothing going on?
They're not moving.
They're not moving.
Right.
And then they're expected at a split second, the reaction time, they have to now explode.
Right.
And it's so important that children warm up before they go. And this can be something where if you don't have time, if it hasn't been instructed already through the coaches, then the parents need to be educated in it. That, you know what, before you even step foot out there, we're going to get to the field 20 minutes early, and we're going to do a little bit of a warm up. It's not just stretching, it's even just moving around, walking, even doing slight jogging around will warm the tissue up. So absolutely. And it gives the kids almost get those endorphins and they're ready to perform.
Right. Yeah, because they get out and they're all excited. And no offense to any little person in softball, but we've all watched the games that
Never end.
there's those, and God love them, but yeah. So they're standing out there a long time, and then they're up at bat, and then all of a sudden, like you said, or a ball is hit out there, and they need to move. And you know, you talk about the fact that if someone gets an injury, then they're 300% more likely to get another injury. It behooves you, anyone, to get the body warmed up, to get the body tuned up. I mean, we do it with our cars in the winter. Very few people, I think, go out and start the car and go, okay, I'm ready to go. You start it, you let it run a little bit. You let it warm up before you get in. You should at least do that with your body, I would think.
Absolutely, yeah.
I would think. So, Heather, let's bring you in. You've been quiet long enough. So
It's a rarity.
let's talk about that with nutrition, because as Dr. Quinn mentioned, you know, if you have an ankle sprain, you know, unless it's because someone has tackled or knocked you down, you have to look at maybe is there something else possibly going on. And some of that could be a physical thing. Some of it could be, you know, are you getting the right nutrients? You know, are the bones strong? Are your muscles strong? Are you giving? So let's talk about that. And first off, let's also see. This is the part where I ask 3 questions. Remember, I told you I warned you, and you'd have to pick one. This is it. You know, let's talk a little bit about you and how you came to be the chef owner of the Chocolate Mousse as well, so people know that you seriously know what you're talking about. Like Dr. Quinn, neither of you guys are messing around. You guys know what you're talking about. So
I don't have doctor in front of my name, but I'm a graduate from the culinary, and I have a nutrition license. And I really started, my father had some dietary restrictions, and it became kind of a puzzle on how I can help him enjoy food and still enjoy what he liked, but not be ill. So nutrition is kind of a puzzle, and just like each position that you'd be playing needs a different exercise, they also need different nutrition. So it's finding the optimal nutrients for each person.
got it. Okay, so I wanted people to know that. So when you talk about it, it's like she knows what she's talking about. So what are some of the things you can do? Let's say, for instance, if you've got a little person, and we're talking softball, we're talking soccer, those kinds of things, and they could be completely 2 different nutritional needs. But let's talk about maybe some of those.
Dr. Quinn put a good thing on it. You have to hydrate. Hydration is very important. Things like Gatorade and those wonderful drinks tend to have a lot of additional things. Really, water, lemon are great ways to start. Your vitamins. Fast food, even though it's nice and quick and it's a great thing to get on the way to the game, is not a great thing for your body. You're not getting anything that your body needs to fix itself, because as you're moving, your cells are starting to break down and you need to keep them going. You need to be able to fix them. So salads, vegetables, the proper protein. Americans think that protein is the most important thing. You don't want to overload on that either.
No, because you can hurt your organs if you're overloading too much protein, right?
You can overload your organs, your blood becomes acidic, you can't break it down properly. So you really need to keep balance. And we were talking earlier, before we started, pasta parties were such a big thing for athletes. Pasta parties don't really do anything but form a camaraderie. It has nothing to do with what your body actually needs to be able to perform better.
See, isn't that amazing? You know, you see these things and you see them in newspapers and magazines, and, you know, there's always these photo ops before a marathon, before these big events, and there's a pasta party, and the television interviewer will go, how much pasta did you eat last night? And now you're like, yeah, no, that doesn't do anything.
By the time your body processes it, you know, it's long gone before you're ready to actually work out and do what you need to.
Now, when you said proper proteins, what's the definition of that? In case someone is listening going, well, if it's a protein, it's a protein. Like, you know, are you talking meats, cheeses, you're talking vegetables, or you're talking a mix? What are you talking about?
A mix, but depending again on how much you're working out is the amount of fat you want in your protein. Bodybuilders tend to go for lean protein, which is generally better, but you also want your red meat. Red meat has more iron. and iron is very important for rebuilding your cells. So it's a matter of a good combination.
So they weren't kidding, I'm not saying this to be. It sounds like a simple, stupid statement, but all the time growing up, you would see have a balanced diet, have a balanced diet. There was the food pyramid, and even though there's been slight adjustments to that, there is a rationale and a science behind that as to why you should have a balanced and not all in one column or none of one or five of there's a reason for that.
Absolutely. There are 1,000,001 fad diets, but that's exactly why they're fad diets, because they don't actually sustain you. And you will get injured if you partake in any of them for too long.
It's interesting you talk about fad diets, and I realize we're talking about sports and we're talking about people getting active, but it just seems to me there's so much pressure in this society to be thin that as if you're thin means you're automatically in shape.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because even as we're talking about the nutrition with the athletes, a great example is we've had athletes. My parents coach competitive swimming. That was where my background was for a long time, and they deal with both men's and women's teams. And the idea that you're not supposed to have a lot of carbs. If you're dealing with an athlete that's burning thousands of calories. We saw Michael Phelps, great example. You saw what he ate. Now he ate. Some of the stuff on that list is pretty ridiculous. He ate like a dump truck, basically. Everything just went in. But a lot of the challenges we're trying to tell these kids and tell the parents that, listen, carbs are not bad. You're going to need carbohydrates. They're ready energy. But your child's burning all of these calories, and if you want the child not to get injured, they need to have that nutrition there, because then you're going to run into dehydration. You're going to run into really injury to the connective tissue, to the ligaments, the tendons, things like that. Plus, they're not going to perform well. They have no energy. They become they don't understand why they're putting all this time and effort in, and it becomes almost like a mental game. Kids are like, I'm putting all this time and effort in, and I do my exercises. I do this stuff outside of here. They're on a stretching program that I've given them there, and he's got no injuries normally with his kids because they follow it. But the kids that don't perform, the first question I tell them to ask them, what are they eating?
Yeah.
And this is the big challenge. So you hit a big part of it, is that these fad diets, they're detrimental to the kids and to the adults. And you see it all the time.
Your metabolism actually works like a pinwheel. So fat gets your body to go around once, gets you 1 energy. Protein gets you 3 energy, where carbs get you 9. So you need your carbs because you need the endurance. You need your protein because you need to be able to rebuild. And you do need some fat because that lubricates your brain and it keeps function going. So you really do need a little bit of everything.
It's interesting. I'm telling you, I learn something new every time we do a show. And I almost feel a little stupid by saying that, because I certainly have eaten all of my life. I mean, my mother was very aware of, talk about a balanced diet. I mean, our meals and what was on the table. And, I grew up, everything was homemade. Like, heaven forbid, there was not a box mix. There was not a processed food. I've made up for that in my college years. I'm sure I did. I feel like I undid. I'm not sure how many years of all of her good work. She would just hang her head and look at me. But I've since gone back. Since being an adult, I think about it before I have a mix in the house. I think about it before processed food. If someone else can make it, I always feel like, well, then I can figure it out. I can figure out a better way. But I love the example you did of a pinwheel, of understanding that, because people go, oh, carbs are horrible. I've known people who will go and work out and just eat cheeseburger on top of cheeseburger with like cheese and everything on it without the bun. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, there's something, and they're like, it doesn't really make sense. And I'm thinking to myself, if you think it doesn't make sense, then why are you doing that?
Right.
You're already entering into this eating relationship going, I don't know if this is the best for me, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway.
Yeah, it looks all right.
Well,
it looks fine.
What's amazing too is, I mean, I've known Heather for a little while now, and the big thing is that you can make food. Everybody also thinks that good food is supposed to be it's supposed to taste bad. You know, it's
that's not true.
or nutritional food, that food that's supposed to sustain you, is not the fun food that has great taste. And Heather's able to definitely put that together.
Right.
I mean, you look at what she can put together on a meal, basically for lunch, dinner, even pre-workouts. These things actually, they're phenomenal, and it's like, wow, I can eat that. And I didn't realize maybe some of these things I've never had before, but they taste great and they sustain you. It's not just, okay, I have to have, kale is a super meal. Everybody, I like kale. I don't think everybody will like kale, but it can be prepared different ways, or you can have some other
It
type
can be
of.
hidden really easily.
Exactly. And that's where she comes in, and that's
Right.
the biggest thing. And it's not as hard, it's not as difficult as you think.
Right.
One of the really important things to do is kind of look at your plate like a rainbow. You really need something natural of every color. Each color has a different vitamin associated with it. So your carotene has your vitamin A, is good for your eyes. Carotene is orange. Each color has green, iron. So if you have something on your plate, like a really nice salad, it has something from everything, all your vitamins, all your minerals, and that's really going to help you, and it looks appealing. If you're going to eat something that's all green or all beige or all something,
Yuck.
who wants to eat it? It doesn't look good. It's probably not good for you, because if it doesn't look good, then why? You eat with your eyes first.
Right. Let me ask you guys this. On your prospective websites or Facebook pages, do you guys have any, guidelines, any resources? Dr. Quinn, you talked about the fact of, if you go to run, you may talk with your friend who's a runner, and they tell you what it is you need to do. And Heather, conversely, someone would be like, oh, my friend was on this diet, and, it didn't, look at how much weight they lost, and everything was great. Do you guys have resources you can tell people now to say, here's some good places to look?
It's difficult because the web is so flooded with information now. You have stuff that is on some magazines, that are in some like magazine websites, and they have like a guru that may have had some information and writes it down. The biggest thing is, if they really want to dig, they really should look for case studies, and that's dry. That's where we become the resource,
Right.
meaning like the doctors in the area. Is that really everything that we do has to be done because evidence based, meaning they've done studies on this, and this pretty much shows that A plus B, it most likely is going to equal C. So it's the best thing to do is to call and ask. That's the biggest thing. I mean, we're in my office, like I said, we run our office. It's a family office. We do not charge you for questions. I would rather someone call and ask a question, or, my son's competing in this, my daughter's doing this, or, I would like to take up running and things of that nature. Ask the questions.
Right.
We have no problem taking the time with that, because then we know you're safer out
Which
there.
is great.
Absolutely.
Which
It makes
is
our
great.
job easier. I don't want to see you after you injured yourself and had to have surgery for something
Yes.
that we could have fixed quite easily with just answering a simple question.
Right, exactly. What's your phone number?
Our office number is 845-454-4137. And on our website, like I said, we have a lot of information on the website. We update the Facebook page with a lot of fun stuff, little bit things here and there. And we do have resources from, some of your big, just a lot of the local, like Fox News, Times. Like, we add some things here because some of it is fun that's on there. I would definitely say we also pull things from resources that are more medical based.
Okay.
And we try to really push that out there. So it's not just dry reading. We realize that if you wanted to really understand that, you might have wanted to go to school for this. So
Got it.
That's my job.
So as folks are listening and you're saying that's great, where all these things, whatever station you're listening to this morning, go to their website, because there is an article on the website, and I will, after the show, I will get all the addresses and we'll have links.
Excellent.
So we will have links to your website. We will have links to Facebook. We will have all of that. So Heather, in terms of, it's amazing. Every time I talk with you, I learn something new. I'm reminded of something that maybe I might have forgotten, about nutrition, because life gets busy. You get crazy. You're in a hurry.
Job and all that other
Pesky
stuff.
job and all that other stuff. So what about resources with you? What are some of the recommendations that you...
If you go onto my website, there's always a blog. My blog usually corresponds to our Wolf presentation on Thursday mornings. So you go on, you contact me, either via email, website, phone call. Same as Dr. Quinn, you can always call. It's better to call and get information. Usually if you go through the health department, they have some better information versus some of the gurus.
Right. Right. Do you offer, Heather, do you offer like cooking classes? Like, let's say if there's somebody like a new mom, maybe, or, someone who may be at a point in their life where all of a sudden they're going, I probably should have paid attention to this before. Or someone, or someone goes, you know what, that's it. You're right. Fast food, it's quick. It's not doing anything for me. I need to re-educate myself. Where can they go? Can you offer them some stuff? What can we do?
We do offer cooking classes, whether it's for nutritional purposes, getting a team in and teaching them how to educate themselves so they can be better prepared, whether it's something a little more fun, having a date night, I'd come in, cook with you. We also offer prepared meals. So for those who don't have time,
that's great.
We can provide them with whatever is within their restrictions. So whether it's allergies, calorie counting, anything like that, we can take care of them.
So right here, see, this is why I love this show, because right here there are 2 resources here in the Hudson Valley that you can ask questions. And as Dr. Quinn, you said you'd rather people ask questions. There's no charge for asking a question. You call up and you ask, and you find out information before you hit the walkway, before your children, your grandchildren hit the playing field, so that they have a better shot of being successful. And I have to say, I never thought about, when you use the example of someone saying, look, I'm doing all the exercises. I'm doing everything the coach is telling me to. I'm working outside of this. I'm not getting the results that I want. These 2 things really are tied together of your muscles and your skeleton and all that you do, and the nutrition and the fuel that you put in your body. And so you don't want to work on just one part.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want, we all want the best for our children, ourselves, and that just kind of broke my heart a little bit, that someone is working that hard and they're missing the nutrition piece, or someone is doing the nutrition piece so hard but is not allowing their body to warm up. Conversely, it's the same thing. You guys, it really does work hand in hand.
It's one machine.
Absolutely.
It is. And we have this resource that is here, you guys, here in the Hudson Valley. Heather, what is your phone number? Because online, I will put, like I said, I'll link to websites and Facebook pages, but your number?
It's 845-518-6533.
Okay, so folks have all of that. And you guys are perfect timing. I look up and we have to do closing comments. I've been running over lately, so this is good timing. Dr. Quinn, some final thoughts that you'd like to leave with folks this morning as we are unhibernating, and it was just not a word, I don't think, but getting out there.
Definitely, I want to let everybody know that, your body is constantly talking to you. Pain is not an acceptable thing, even if it's aches and pains, walking around the house, doing those activities. And then if that's taking place, thinking that it's going to go away by just going to the gym and working through it or running, you're just exacerbating it. We always tell everybody, if you had to have surgery, it's too late. If you fought through the pain and now it became a bigger problem, it's too late. The biggest thing that you can do for yourself is, if you have questions, or if you are having limitations in pain, or you have the questions in regards to wanting to start competing in a new sport, a new activity, that's a time to set up an appointment. You do not need a prescription to come in and see us. And it's covered by your insurance. It's called Direct Access to Physical Therapy. And we can evaluate you, we can treat you, and it's covered by your insurance.
That's great to know, because I wonder if folks are nervous about that.
No, absolutely. We definitely accept insurance. And a lot of people, they realize that they can get in quickly. We can get you in within 24 hours of a phone call. And what we can definitely do is we can answer those questions. We can take a look. We can set up a program for you. And we can get you on your way to avoiding injury. A little ankle sprain at 12 can lead to a total knee replacement and full dependence by the time you're 65 if it's not treated well. They show studies in cases like this all the time. So you start off with, you keep yourself safe. That's the biggest thing. Use this as definitely a resource. And we're a full team of doctors. Every single one of our physical therapists are doctors of physical therapy. So we all have elite training in this stuff, and we take it seriously. We treat our office as a family, and we want to make it you feel like it's family when you come in as well.
And I also think it's great, as you mentioned, if anyone is listening and their children are about to start a program, or maybe they are, we hear oftentimes, please consult your doctor before beginning this regimen. Just make a phone call to you guys.
Absolutely.
Just make a phone call and ask a question. That's really all that you need to do. And the number there is 845-454-4137.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Absolutely.
very cool. Heather, some final closing thoughts from you.
I think if you're somebody who's working out, it's very important to pay attention to your nutrition. But also, if you're somebody who's competing or looking to compete collegiate, high school, it's very important to really pay attention to what you're consuming. And those are the people that would be really important to contact Dr. Quinn or myself, just to get a leg up, because what you're consuming, how you're starting, is going to give you that head start over the next person.
Right. Exactly. You put the work in, but if you don't have these two things working together,
It's for naught.
You're hurting yourself.
Body's like a car. There's certain cars that say premium only. Do you put the 87 in a premium car? It's probably going to tank out. Or you put diesel stuff
You're not doing it. You're not doing it. We
Absolutely.
all know that with our vehicles. We just seem to forget about it with the vehicle that we carry with us and that carries us, actually,
through our life.
through our life.
And the
We
other
forget
thing,
that.
a pretty facade doesn't necessarily mean the inside is working properly.
See, that's the other thing. And I think people automatically think, oh, if I'm just thin enough, then I'm healthy enough. And that is not the case at all.
No.
There was a British show, it was a reality show that they had on, and I had a chance to watch it, and they had that where they would show they would show 4 people, and a lot of them was someone that was obese, so they looked visually unhealthy. They showed why they were unhealthy, and then you saw these individuals that looked like normal thin people, and they were just as unhealthy or more unhealthy than the individuals that are obese. So yeah, it's called the unhealthy thin. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something to keep in mind. Heather, your number, 845-518-6533.
Correct.
Guys, thank you very much for being here. Thanks for talking with us about things that are important to remind us as we're all getting out there and get active. There's a smart way to handle your body. There's a smart way to handle the food that you put into that body. I'm not always the best at that, but, I think just like with anybody else, we learn. So thanks, guys, for giving up your time, giving us some of your expertise. I do appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, guys. Take care of yourselves. So let me tell you how you can be on the program. Here's how you can contact me. You can email me at beth.christie@townsquaremedia.com. You can call 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. You can find me on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Pinterest. I'm everywhere, I believe. So find me. You can find me and then contact me, because we'd love to have you on the show to talk about what is important to you. Take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.